Welcome back to the neighborhood, and thanks for stopping by. On this episode, we're going to take a look back at a game that was released at just the right time and became a huge moment in the zeitgeist because of it. That game is Animal Crossing: New Horizons. Welcome to the podcast where three longtime friends talk about video games from the average gamer's perspective. My name is Andrew Kimball.
I'm Dylan Wren.
And I'm Aubrey Sommer.
And we are your friendly neighborhood gamers.
Before we dive in, if you enjoy the show, if you like what you're hearing, or if you're watching this on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating or review on your podcast app of choice, or leave a like or a comment on the YouTube version of this, and subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified for future episodes. With that out of the way, Dylan, why don't you introduce our guests that are joining us for this very special episode?
Sure. So, returning for yet another episode is Braeden Kimball.
This one comes out first.
You've previously heard him on Baldur's Gate 3 and our Shadow of War episode, Shadow of Mordor. I don't remember if we did
both. We did them together.
Okay, yeah.
You guys
Braeden
did it with a thumb war. It was epic.
Oh yeah, I do remember that part now because I edited that episode for YouTube, and I was putting the outro on there, and I was like, what are we doing here? Oh, a thumb war. That's right. Anyway, how are you doing, Braeden?
I'm awake.
That's 90% of the way to being on this podcast.
Yep.
Is just being awake.
The other 10% is a working voice box.
Yeah, exactly. And then also joining us, we have Abi Kimball. Believe you heard her last on I'm blanking on the name. Casting of Frank Stone.
Yeah.
Was that the last one? Yeah.
The scary game?
Mhm.
Yeah, around
Yeah.
Halloween.
So, how are you doing, Abby?
I'm good. I'm here.
Cool.
Did he book?
Did who book? Frank Stone?
Frank Stone.
You'll have to listen to the episode and find out.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we're doing a bit of a retrospective look back at Animal Crossing because the game has been out now for 5 years. This was
5 years this month.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh.
It's very timely.
Oh.
This
That
was
hurts.
Aubrey's idea / brainchild for an episode, so I'm gonna let her answer the question: what is Animal Crossing: New Horizons?
So, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a social simulation game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch. It's the 5th main entry in the Animal Crossing series. In New Horizons, the player controls a character who moves to a deserted island after purchasing a getaway package from Tom Nook, and they accomplish assigned tasks and develop the island as they choose. You can gather and craft items, customize the island, and develop it into a community of anthropomorphic animals. Development of New Horizons began in 2012 following the release of Animal Crossing New Leaf. The game was announced at E3 2019 via a Nintendo Direct, and after an extended development period, was released worldwide on March 20th of 2020. New Horizons received acclaim from critics who praised its gameplay and customization options. It was nominated for over a dozen awards and was a major commercial success, selling over 49 million copies worldwide and breaking the console game record for most digital units sold in a single month.
I wonder why.
I wonder.
It is the best-selling game in the Animal Crossing series, the second best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch, the best-selling game of all time in Japan, and the 13th best-selling video game in history. Its commercial success has been attributed in part to its release amid global stay-at-home orders during the COVID-19 pandemic. The game has been used as a substitute for social interactions such as weddings and graduation ceremonies, as well as political campaigning and virtual protests. The game also inspired fan creations such as a trading website, a talk show, comics, and merchandise. It received major updates, adding new content until November of 2021.
Yeah, when I was pulling the doc together, those stats kind of like I knew it was a big deal.
Yeah, but
second
kinda-
best on the Switch,
Mhm.
most digital sales, 13 best of all time. Like this is all I pulled all this from Wikipedia, so I didn't actually go through and like vet the sources myself, but still, generally speaking,
Yeah,
impressive.
It's
what
pretty
this
well
game
understood.
did.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't find a Switch for ages. Like those were tough to get a hand on once the lockdown started, and Animal Crossing, it's so accessible. Like it's so easy to get into, regardless of your like familiarity with gaming or like your skill level. And so it would talk about timing.
Mm-hmm.
You went on the quest for the Switch.
Yeah, I
around
bought a
Animal
Switch. It was probably early April, like 2 weeks into the lockdowns.
But it was the whole like, Target has 3 left, or is
Yeah, it actually was a pretty painless experience because I found it was the Best Buy actually had a few of them, and I just ordered one for contactless pickup or whatever, and I went and
Mm-hmm.
drove over there, picked it up, and I think I must have bought it at the perfect time because like a day after that, you couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what finally pushed Delaney to get a Switch was Animal Crossing. We were all hopping on it.
That's why I bought it.
I honestly probably had more of a time getting the Animal Crossing Special
Switch.
Edition Switch than just
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with COVID.
no.
Yeah, that's just GameStop.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was just classic GameStop.
And it was weird. I followed a whole Twitter account that would actually post when like websites would update that they had stock, because they would do it kind of randomly and they'd have like 10 or 15 listed online
Yeah, I
that
did
you
that
could
when
reserve.
the PS5 when I was trying to get a PS5.
Yeah, and I did that again for my Xbox Series X when I got that. But yeah, that was one of those like it was such an ordeal, and like, oh my gosh, and looking and checking, and am I going to pull the trigger on like the Target.com or whatever? Went in, talked to somebody at GameStop who claimed they could help me out, and then didn't, and then like literally
name drop.
Jeremy, and then literally went like across the street to the Walmart and was like, hey, do you guys have any of the special edition Animal Crossing Switches? And they're like, yeah, I think we got a couple. And I just like bought one there. Like it was such a thing that then just wasn't like
Mhm.
I got it elsewhere. But yeah, beautiful Switch. I love the color scheme.
So can you guys believe that this game has been out for 5 years?
No.
No.
I refuse to believe it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
We're coming up on it. Well, and when it came out, I think the three of us, you, Dylan, and I went to
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
a
went
different GameStop.
we went to the one up at Crossroads just to like, because I don't think they were letting anybody. It was right after the stay-at-home orders came out, so
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of doing midnight releases, they were like, yeah, just come by at like 4:00, 5:00 in the afternoon, and we'll just like give it to you through the window of your car.
Well,
I thought we went in.
We did go in.
Did we?
That was one of the
Yeah.
first experiences I had with the like taped off like 6 feet apart
Mm.
like
Oh
boxes
yeah,
and
the,
stuff.
The orders didn't start until
I feel like the game came out
The
right
23rd.
before. Like it was
Oh, okay.
literally
I think it started
a
the
few
23rd.
I was
days
gonna
before.
I know.
I thought it was
I
on
re-
like the 12th or something. Like
I know I had been home from work,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't think that like cities and everything had completely
yeah,
like it had
because
trickled
I
down.
got
I-
shut down.
Yeah.
I think the 23rd. I couldn't go back to work.
I know at that point I had found out that like
You were down.
I was
here.
down for spring break, and I had found out at that point that they were extending spring break at
Yep.
least a second week,
Same
and
boat.
then
Mhm.
Yeah, we were
I
in
may
a-
have found out like, nah, we're just doing online.
I think we
for
were
the
in
rest
like
of the
that weird
semester.
limbo like week or
Mhm.
two when it came out before it was like, oh, we're
Yeah.
just all chilling now.
Yeah. No, I'd gotten my healthcare worker, paper bag and the mask that I was supposed to, reuse for eternity. And had been given a letter just in case like the National Guard was like on the roads. So I could like prove that I was a quote unquote essential worker. And then we're walking into a GameStop and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going to need a letter to get anywhere.
No.
I think we're really stretching the definition of essential right now.
No.
Gulfport's curfew started on March 31st.
Okay.
Mm, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
when the curfew started.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't get real till April.
It was
like,
April when it like really kicked. Because
Yeah, well, because we didn't have, I don't feel like we had a ton of cases or anything like
When we-
that.
when
The
we went to
first
go
while to
get
reach us.
The
Animal
first case
Crossing.
was on the 17th of March. There were 9 cases in Mississippi on the 17th of March,
Mhm.
2020. But yeah, we got shut down on the 23rd or the 25th.
Yeah.
they sent us home on like a Friday, and they're like, we're going to set everybody up for teleworking, just, in case
Mm-hmm.
for, you have to telework on Monday or something. And then we like never went back for a while.
yeah, that's how the spring break was. I came down for spring break, and then that Friday or Saturday, I would have gone back up. They sent out a email that said, we're extending spring break. And then middle of the way through that week, they're like, we're going all online for all the classes.
Mhm.
And I just never went back. I didn't go back up to campus until the like following August when the fall semester started. And even then it was still hybrid. I only had like one in-person class, but I just wanted to be back like in the college environment to
Yeah.
be more productive.
We had stopped visitors where I worked. Like we weren't allowing outside visitors, and I don't think we were getting new admissions either from the hospital, because I worked at a nursing home at the time. So vulnerable population, Medicare and Medicaid services were like, yeah, no, like the hospitals can do what they got to do, which really made the home health industry explode. But so it was like kind of real, but kind of not. And then in the middle of all that was like, hey, here's this game you've been looking forward to for like a year from a franchise you've loved since you were a kid.
Yeah, because at the time we were doing Level Playing Field, and it was still pretty early in that show. Like the Animal Crossing episode we did was our most popular episode for a long time.
Mhm.
And so you and I, Aubrey, were already planning on getting it and
Yeah.
playing it for the show. I was like, I'm kind of in the mood for this game. I had played the one on DS. And then I think at that point we knew Dylan was going to be down and around. So we were like, hey, you want to come with us? We're going to get Animal Crossing. And he was like, sure. And he hadn't ever
Yeah, I
played one
Yeah.
before.
I don't even know that I'd really heard. I think I'd heard of Animal Crossing be mentioned by you guys, but I
Mhm.
had really no idea what it was or like what you did in it or anything. I was just kind of like, yeah, why not? I guess I'll use my Switch.
Yeah.
So
So we then we were like, oh, okay, so the few of us will all get it, because like Dylan was saying, they ended up giving it to us on a Thursday
Mm-hmm.
early because of all the stuff that was going on. And so we went down, we all loaded up in one car, drove to GameStop, picked up Animal Crossing, came back, and then the plan was like, we'll just all hang out on Friday and play this
Mhm.
game and just kind of experience it together, and then we'll do like a first impressions episode. And so Abby also ended up getting it. And I remember, I think it was like, that Friday, the next day, we all just kind of sat around at my house and just like
played it.
played. It was like, what fruit did you get? What,
Mhm.
what animals do you have? Oh, I just found this thing. I just did this thing, caught this fish, whatever. Oh, I just crafted this thing. Have you gotten that? And so then we recorded on, I think, that Saturday, like literally our very first impressions of like,
Yeah.
we have played this game for 8 hours kind of thing.
Yes. Nothing else going on in the world. Yeah. Yeah, which I said about the not taking admissions, because also like, even though I was an essential worker with the kind of work that I do in a nursing home, when caseload is low, like I just am not in there very much. So I was working like 3.5-hour days. So I'd go in at like 9:30 and be home by 1 p.m, and then just spend all afternoon playing Animal Crossing. So
Yeah, and it like the 4 of us that played it for the show, like we all had traveled to each other's islands and swapped fruits and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And then it just kept expanding from there. It was like, then Braeden got it, and then
Mhm.
Delaney got it, and then it was like all of a sudden everybody that you knew kind of
Yeah.
had Animal Crossing, had an
Yeah,
island.
and then like YouTube people like Shane Dawson and stuff were posting that they had it and they were
Mhm.
on their islands and opening up their
Mhm.
islands, and all of a sudden it went from like,
Yeah, it was a moment.
oh yeah, like I know a couple people that have this game too. Literally everybody has this game and everybody is playing it all at the same time.
Well, the craziest thing that happened one of the craziest things that happened with Level Playing Field was the time that Aubrey had like really good turnip prices on her island. And so we tweeted on our like Level Playing Field
I know,
account,
we just
like
threw the code out there, and
we're just like, hey, we have great turnip prices, and then we threw our code out there, and then Aubrey's island was just locked down.
It couldn't function
by like the people traveling in and traveling out to sell their turnips. It's
like, well, just gonna spend all day here, like, yeah. And eventually, like, that website got pulled together that lets you like upload your travel code and then a queue forms, and so there's only like so many people have access to the code, and someone has to like leave your island before they'll allow another person to come in. But I did after that have like a moment, because you started to hear about people like stealing fruit or like flowers or all kind of stuff, and for the most part, anytime I had like a total rando come to my island, they would ask if they could take fruit or something like that. But I did visit one to sell, and they had basically like trees all planted to where you could just get to the store and back to the back to the plane, and like no funny business, just do your stuff and go.
Yeah, because people also are like stealing stuff from islands.
That was the most active our Twitter account ever was, because that post where I shared that was just like like my phone was blowing up. I was like, what have we done? What has happened
What
here?
is this? Yeah,
we'll need to pay off our loan to Tom Nook.
Yeah, so Aubrey, you read that like overview of what the game is, but I mean, I feel like if people are listening to this, they probably have a general idea of what is Animal Crossing. Yeah. But Braeden, how would you describe Animal Crossing to somebody that hasn't played it?
It's cozy. That is the adjective I would use. It's a vibe of a game. There's not really, I mean, there is kind of progression, but if you're the kind of person who needs a bar that increases every time you do something, it's not really that kind of a game.
Most definitely not.
Yeah, it's very like set your own goals sort of thing.
It's kind of the video game equivalent to having friends on in the background while you're doing something productive. It's like or The Office or whatever. It's very millennial,
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting asking Braeden this question, but in Animal Crossing, you play as like a little chibi character who goes to an island, and then basically, like Braeden was saying, it's kind of open ended, but you're building this island up. You have a house that you upgrade over time. You have neighbors who you like assist with chores. You go fishing. You find fossils to like build out a museum. You lay down pathways.
You catch bugs. You catch
fish. So it's very much just kind of like cozy is a very good way to describe it, but you are just like the goal of the game is essentially just to kind of take this island from nothing to like your flourishing town.
New Horizons for sure was definitely like that. I would like the franchise as a whole. It's almost, and this is probably not a helpful analogy for people who've never heard of Animal Crossing, because they probably also haven't heard of Kiki's Delivery Service.
No.
But it is kind of like...
Yeah, that Venn diagram is probably just like two pairs of eyes, but... well, just one pair of eyes, but you got what I was... you know what I was...
4 eyes!
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Animal Village was what the first one was called in like a direct translation from Japanese, and it's like you arrive in a town full of animals and you just become a member of the town. And so they're like earlier what's the word I'm looking for? Installments. Earlier installments of the game, you didn't have that much control over the environment of your town. The previous like major entry, New Leaf, was the first time where you had any kind of like real authority in the town. You were the mayor of the town, and so you could set ordinances, place buildings in certain spots, do certain upgrade things.
Yeah, and a lot of that probably came from just competing games in the genre of like Stardew Valley has come out, and games like these that are super popular. People want to have more control over their space,
like the aesthetics and stuff, because there were people who always like hacked like city folk and New Leaf in order to make them look a certain way, or really like mostly just place furniture outdoors. That wasn't something you could do in the game without hacking it or modding it until New Horizons. So when New Horizons was like, yeah, you can do all of these things you guys have been breaking our game to do now. Like we're incorporating that. You look like less of a circle on top of a triangle and like you can wear separate pants and a shirt, and like, you know, everything was like built out and evolved in New Horizons, except for character dialogue. The villagers are much blander and nicer in New Horizons than they've ever been.
Yeah, it was less about the character personalities and more about the
more
building
about
out your island.
The farming and the building out. And I had to do a little soul searching to get okay with like durability on your tools. That was not pleasant. I don't enjoy that as a concept. I don't love it in the Zelda games.
Yeah, I was gonna say they took that from Zelda, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a common mechanic in games like this to keep
in
you
like
having to
games.
burn resources. Like,
yeah.
You have something that you're constantly having to kind of maintain and spend resources on, in the fact that things don't ultimately you can get like golden tools and stuff that don't break, right, in Animal Crossing.
I don't think you can in New
No.
Horizons.
Oh,
You could in the older games.
You could get silver and gold just for like as a trophy, again, like a sort of hidden Easter egg thing in previous games, but they didn't have durability. So with the gold like shovel, you could plant money trees, and I think you could like plant a dead black rose in order to cultivate the gold rose in like Wild World or something like that.
way deeper than I ever got in these games.
Yeah.
The money tree thing is, I can verify that.
Yeah,
The
but also
golden
like
shovel
a
lets you
golden
plant
shovel
those.
was not hard to get. You just like buried one for 3 days or something and dug it up, and it was a gold shovel. But
I mean, they integrated a ton of crafting stuff into New
Mhm.
Horizons, so a way to just kind of keep the loop going was
Yeah.
to make sure that you're constantly having to
Yeah, it
gather
was a-
resources.
it was a way to ensure longevity, which I can appreciate, and you know, am blasé towards now. Like I have plenty of bells. It's no big deal
Yeah,
for me
it's
to
like-
go and just buy 3 fishing poles and 3, bug nets or
It's
whatever.
like, can I not just spend 1,000,000 bells to get one that doesn't break?
Right.
Again? Like, I'll spend it.
Yeah.
It was more frustrating about like inventory space. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going out to do a bunch of digging or beating on rocks or
Mhm.
whatever, so I know I need X amount of shovels, but that's going to take like 3 or 4 slots in my inventory,
Yeah.
so it's going to limit what I can pick up.
Which at the start of the game, again, to kind of like slow the ramp up a bit, you didn't have all the slots in your backpack either. Like I
No,
think
it
you
was
have to
very few. It was
unlock
like 8
them
or something.
purchase-
and then
yeah, and that's woohoo.
I think it was
cannot
like 2
imagine.
rows, and then you could expand it to like 3 or 4.
Yeah, as you unlock certain things and could purchase it. So, which makes it more of a like survivalist cozy game, more like other games in the genres, other contemporaries. Like it brought it more over towards that. And then I feel like you lost, because I made the point of trying to fill my island with the wolf characters. Like those are my favorite style of characters, and that was a personal like goal I set just for the heck of it. But most of those personality types are the snooty types and the grumpy types. These are the most toothless like wolves on my island. Like these grumpy, these quote unquote grumpy characters are like, "Oh, hey, I really missed you." I'm like, I mean, sure. But like in previous games, like in Wild World, you had to like talk to them every day and like build friendship with them through the same probably like hidden code or whatever that they have in the Pokemon games to build friendship. Like there was more of a like development, it felt like, with the characters in previous games than in this game. But,
Yeah, and in Wild World, I definitely felt like I had characters I cared about.
Mhm.
And in New Horizons, I was like,
I don't even know what some of my characters' names are.
yeah, Abby doesn't
Yeah.
know that she has animals and
I
neighbors
like run
on her
away from them.
island.
Like when they're like coming towards me, they get excited and start running towards me. I'm like, huh, and I like, run away. And then like, I missed you. I was thinking about moving away to a new island. And I'm like, okay, have fun.
You do you.
Yeah.
Don't let me stop
Yeah,
you.
don't let me stop you.
Abby's like, I'm trying to plant flowers here.
Yeah, I'm
Leave
like,
me
I'm
alone.
trying to make sure my tomatoes don't die.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Well, because I feel like there's a couple of different ways that you can play Animal Crossing, and I definitely leaned more into like that style
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
I like set up my orchards where I had like rows of various different
Yeah.
kinds of fruit trees, and I had like my flower factory, and I had
Hey,
Mhm.
we have some factories going on
Yeah.
to breed these flowers to get all of the colors that we need.
yeah, and
It's a
like
thing.
I could care less about I threw my houses up
Yeah, 'cause
and
you have
like just
to.
kind of put them somewhere, but like I did not
Did it
care.
hurt?
You know, it was a little rough coming out, but
Yeah.
My
um,
turnaround rate for my islanders are they're just I'm like, okay, bye.
yeah, because
I don't care.
I did not get into like the social like build up, become friends, like make their like go give them gifts sort of thing. Like I did enough of it to like get the tutorial
Yeah.
part done,
I have a
but
whole bunch of crap in my inventory right now that are like, oh, somebody dropped this. Go
Yeah.
find where it goes. I'm like, I've talked to everybody 32 times and nobody wants any of this crap. So
yeah, or they're like, hey,
I don't know.
here's an ugly shirt that I don't want. You can
Yeah.
have it. And then I'm like,
Thanks.
I
Next
don't
time
Yeah,
I
want
see
a lot
another
of-
person, I give
a lot
them
of
the shirt.
hideous wardrobe items.
I go straight to the store and sell it all. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was definitely way more about the like filling out the museum and the collections and like
Mhm.
and that's kind of where I eventually like fell off because once I felt like I did most
all
of
that.
that, like I was kind of like I wasn't super invested in the like let me craft my island to be the perfect little island town. I was like, no,
Mhm.
I just wanted to like catch all of the fish
Yeah,
or
fill out the Pokédex.
Yeah.
What little progression that the game has. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
so-
curious who's still playing it, and if you fell off, how long did you last? Because for me, I'm not. I played it when it came out. I probably
Mhm.
played for a good, I don't know, 3 to 6 months.
I was
Like,
supposed most of like the warm months, like
Yeah.
summertime and stuff, because
Yeah,
you'd
we-
be out at the pool, like
yeah, we
Yeah.
played a lot
switch.
over
Mhm.
that year that it came out.
Mhm.
But then I kind of, I moved on, fell off of it, and then I tried, like there was Abby tried to get a bit of a resurgence going last year. She got back into it, and I booted it up and I played it for a couple of evenings, but I was just like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'd rather play other
Yeah.
games at
But
this
that was
point.
after we got our new switches too.
Yeah, I was
So you
gonna
had to
say.
restart your island.
Yeah, yours is more complicated because you were not going back to a nice old island
Yeah.
that you loved. It was more of like a
You restarted your
here's-
island, and I had already like gotten with Aubrey and gotten some things. So like you restarted your island, and I'm like, do something so that we can play with each other and trade things back and forth. But then you played it for like, I don't, maybe 2 days.
It was, I think, like 3 nights, and
And
I
it
even
was
pulled up
just
a guide
because-
on like how to, like what days,
How to fast track.
how to
or-
get through the like first couple weeks.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was going to be like the next thing that I brought up after I got through this question with everybody was kind of our island stories. So before we get to that, Aubrey and Abby, you guys are still playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's in my rotation of games that I will like pick back up or return to. I'll get the itch occasionally. Happy Home Designer helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like the expansion that they came
Yeah,
out with.
that expansion that came out, which was a separate game on the DS, which I do also have that. And so that helps kind of punch it up because once you got that, you could unlock the ability to like manipulate your own like house like you can in Happy Home Designer, and you get like items from that, like half walls and like partial walls and partitions and so it did add another dimension to the main game. And it didn't hold me long enough for me to eventually unlock this, but you can like invite your villagers to come and you can like decorate vacation homes for them. And then I think you eventually can unlock the ability to redecorate their home like on your island. And
This game is like a micromanager's dream.
yeah,
Yeah, I kind of like it.
so it'll be one I pick. It'll be one I pick up every few months or so and weed my island and do some fishing and check on my villagers. And, maybe I'll have like an evening where I just enjoy the loop of like running around and fishing or going to the various like islands and stuff. But it's not one I haven't sunk major time into it in a while. But I also haven't had like major free time. Like I associate it with like childhood
And leisure.
yeah, like childhood or like breaks in college, like having
Like,
weeks
good
off or something.
downtime.
Yeah, when you've just got a wide open like 2 weeks where there's nothing going on, like you've slept your 2 days and now it's like, well, okay. And so you just like playing in the bars and then again, lockdown. So
Mine was when TikTok disappeared for 12 hours. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll pull my Switch out and play Animal Crossing.
I mean, you got back into it before that. You got back into it
Well, yeah.
last year. I'm not sure what
what
triggered it,
sparked
but you were just like, I'm going to get back into Animal Crossing. And you
Yeah.
started playing it again. And
I think, was that when the expansion came out?
no.
No, that was before.
It
No,
was-
that was a while ago.
Because the expansion came out like a year later.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because we all kind of fell off, I think.
I think
don't know about
probably I
Aubrey.
watched a TikTok of like the things that you can do on Animal Crossing and like all the different
Mhm.
things that people have done. Because like some people have stayed playing it since 2020. And
Oh,
like
yeah.
their islands are like, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, is this real life?
No, it's a
but-
game.
Well, her. But
No,
yeah, I mean, I got back
people-
into it and
It was like late last year, fall probably, when you picked it back up and you were real big into
yeah,
getting all the flowers and you were starting to actually get serious.
it was
about
like my
again.
hyperfixation for a while.
Yeah,
And then that fell off.
there are some people who can like, especially with like forced perspective and stuff, can like make it look like a city street in Japan or
Yeah.
like castles
Like
or
Rome.
do
I'm
all-
like, what
they
is
do
happening?
all kind of elaborate stuff. And I've always been kind of, I like the more organic look. I like it to look like the island I came to.
Yeah.
So I do some minor terraforming and like enough to make it fully walkable without needing the
Like the pole.
pole or
Oh,
the ladders or
God.
anything. So I've like manipulated it just enough. But like functionally, it is still
Your
basically the same layout of
Yeah.
the island that I got like when I started. Like I didn't move too many rivers or anything like that. But no, the people who like are willing to just like level it and start from like the ground up
Yeah, I don't.
do some wild stuff in
Yeah.
it.
I can't even imagine. But it must have been. I think it was a TikTok that I watched of like all the flowers, and I was like, hold on. There's
Wait, I
more
don't
than
have that.
lilies on this freaking island. Like, hold on.
Wait a minute.
I can find all of the flowers, and then I was looking up cheat sheets on like how to breed flowers to get this and that. And I
Mhm.
asked Aubrey, and she's like, "Yeah, I have all of them." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I have been breaking my back on this game for 2 weeks to get all these damn flowers, and
And
you have them all.
Didn't you
And then
have
I
such
just
a
go to her
good
island.
time?
I go to
You're
her
like,
island.
I can't
I'm
get this
stealing
one.
Stuff.
I'm like, oh yeah, I got that one. Come get it.
yeah,
How long did you last, Braeden?
not including tonight.
Okay. Well, it was probably like late May of the COVID year because my
It's like
COVID
2 months.
yeah, about 2 months, 3 months. My COVID summer was dominated by Minecraft. I was playing with some friends.
As you heard on the episode.
Yeah,
he was
as
on
you
in the
will
future.
hear.
as you're,
Yeah.
as you're going to hear about. We revived a Minecraft server, and it was it was a good time. That was the first. It was the first time. I'm sure most people listening are aware of the memes about how like every couple of years you blitz Minecraft for 6 weeks and then forget about it. And it was definitely one of those times, but it lasted the whole COVID summer. But I don't want to derail this into a Minecraft discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of memes and stuff about Doom releasing the same day as Animal Crossing when it came out. And so it was like, oh, you have Isabelle with like Doom Slayer and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But for me, my first like Bloodborne playthrough that I actually finished was happening the same time I was playing Animal Crossing. So I was like flip-flopping between those two experiences during
That was a trip.
the COVID summer. Yeah, so it was like,
when Cadence was napping, you're playing Bloodborne.
well, no, she was so little that like I just play with, because that's why.
Oh, that's true. She's
like
only 2.
the intro to this show, if you listen to our like trailer episode, it's a clip of Cadence saying like, "That's The Witcher and that's Bloodborne."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
When she
And-
was itty bitty.
Yeah, she was really little. Yeah, 5 years ago. And so yeah, I'd like get too stressed out or like frustrated with Bloodborne, and then I'd play Animal Crossing. And Animal Crossing, it had, especially at that time, had that really good effect that I like in a game where I'd just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go work on my orchard for like maybe add a few trees or whatever. And next thing I know, it's been like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's
damn,
like,
I'm hungry.
Oh, where did all the time go? Like,
Yeah.
the
The
music was
civilization
so good.
effect.
Yeah, you just like zone out and you're just kind of in that.
And that's
flow
when you
state.
could have like the music of Animal Crossing playing, and it didn't give you PTSD of.
Yeah, you weren't remembering of those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have to keep it at a very low volume because if it's too loud, I'm like, why do I feel anxious all of a sudden?
Yeah, but I was probably a little bit longer than you, Braeden, but similar. Like I didn't get much. Like I don't think I saw snow on my island, so it was like once
yeah, I
summer and
definitely
fall and all
did
that
not.
kind of. I saw credits on the game, and I
He saw credits.
yeah, I had
Yep.
I had started, like laying pathways and bridges and like kind of shifting how things were in terraforming and stuff, and like, and then, other
Yeah,
games came
some
out.
other stuff came
and I,
out.
like moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
restart Tom's Island and just use it as my backup island so I can just.
I mean,
Good.
What about you,
Go for
Dylan?
it.
I definitely played pretty consistently throughout the summer. I think when I went back and started a new job up at school, it like I didn't play it as much and as consistently, but it was still in the rotation throughout that fall. Like I definitely did not play it as much, but I think I would go in and like just specifically be on there like trying to get like certain fish that only came out at night
Yeah.
during the
Oh,
fall
yeah.
or something like that. And did like the events too. Like they had, I forget what the
It was really rough that it launched right before the stupid egg
the
event.
bunny
Yeah.
day.
Oh,
event.
yes.
It like everybody's getting into the game, and then all of a sudden it's just like your trees aren't dropping fruit or wood; they're dropping these stupid eggs. And you're
stupid
like,
eggs,
oh
yeah.
my, what is?
And
Yeah.
he's just lurking in the background. Like if
Yeah.
you look at him, he starts dancing. If you turn around, he stops and is like, we're like, yeah, we hate you too.
Yeah.
Go
We're
away.
like, when does this end?
yeah.
It's like a whole week.
So I did that, but I fell off of it probably after like Christmas time. Like probably when I went back to school after Christmas break.
Yeah,
I probably didn't play it a whole lot. And so now I'm very much like in the same boat as you, where I'll occasionally boot it up, like run around, get a little overwhelmed because like the wilds have taken back my island. And also just like there are still things that I could collect, but I've collected enough that it's like one fish from like a season
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
and like at that point it's just annoying. Or because diving was not in the game initially when it
Not
launched,
at launch,
yeah.
no.
and so I still have a lot of that stuff to collect, I think, because I haven't like done a
That's
ton of
pretty
that
fun.
because I was
That'll
like,
take up some time.
yeah. And I think I do have access to like the Happy Home Designer thing, but that part of it does not really interest me at all. So I don't know. But yeah, it is probably like 6-7 months once it came out. I was pretty solid in it. But
you touched on the diving. I was curious from mostly Abby and Aubrey, because I don't think the three of us really have experienced it, but they did add swimming and diving, and then
Mhm.
you touched on the Happy Home Designer stuff a little bit.
the
But
art, they added the art, which also annoys me because it's a collection thing that's so based on RNG.
art was in the base game.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it
no,
was.
I don't.
Did it come with an
That came with the
update
pigeon
later.
guy.
Update. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like
The
part of the
coffee shop guy.
expansion.
No, it wasn't part of the expansion. It was
Because
just
I
one
did
of the
some
later
art
updates.
stuff with Red.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did play a little bit of the diving update when it came out, but
Like, what do you
Yeah.
guys think of the additional content that they released over time?
Well, a lot of it was stuff that was in New Leaf. So starting New Horizons when like at launch, it felt like a little bit empty actually. Like once you started, like once you really got going and got out of your tent and whatnot, and you got the museum, and it's like, okay, well the art's coming later, and maybe you'll see Brewster again. Like he's a beloved character from the franchise, the coffee slinging pigeon.
Which, considering that they started developing this game in 2012,
Yeah,
that was intentional. Like that
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
was
yeah.
done. They were just like doling it out in the same way
Very
that the
slowly.
game wanted you, like forced you to pace yourself.
Mhm.
They were like pacing you with the content of the game as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they were like, okay, ooh, we finally finished the game, the like core base stuff. Now let's start developing the coffee shop so we can get it out in 6 months. It was like, no, that
it was
done.
ready. Yeah. No, it was very much stuff to try and like improve the longevity of the game and to make it like
More of an experience.
yeah. So like diving was in New Leaf. Yeah. But I don't know if you could do it on your island. I'm digging deep in my memories here. Or on your village, I guess technically in New Leaf. And then even like a version of the Nook Miles like islands were in New Leaf. You could take a boat with Cap'n and he'd take you out to like an island that his like wife and granddaughter worked on, and it would have like rare bugs and like rare fish, and he'd sing to you like he does now, which is another like update thing that came later. He takes you to different weird islands that there's only like 3 of them, so it's actually not that much more content. So for me, it just felt like the game finally coming into its own when all of that came out. Like it didn't feel like extra content. It felt like, okay, now the game is fully out and like a complete experience. So I was very happy each time we finally got the update, because Nintendo also plays it pretty close to the chest. They weren't like,
There's no roadmap.
there's no, you're going to get this in 3 months and then this 2 months after that. And then like this whenever, like,
No, for me, I just booted up and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And Aubrey's like, yeah, it's been out for 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh,
like, what's this now? Like,
okay.
yeah. No, I did like all the like the memes and the jokes that came out with it being such like a moment in the zeitgeist of people like deciding that Tom Nook and Red were like bitter exes and they like secretly hate each other and all that. And it's hilarious, like headcanon people have come up with. Yeah. It just felt like the game finally becoming complete a year and a half after it came out. And then, so like, then the Happy Home Designer felt like genuine DLC, like a genuine update,
Yeah.
more additional, which is why they charged for it.
Yeah, you either had to have like the premium online service to get it, or you had to buy it for like $20 or something,
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought it.
Mhm.
which is crazy because you have the online.
Okay. Maybe
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
you
buy
know.
it. I don't know.
Just in case you ever cancel it, who knows?
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh no, I might have bought it. I think I bought it.
We're
Oh,
in a
well.
season of canceling subscriptions, but
Yeah, but not Nintendo because it's
Yeah,
like
the
$80 a
$20.
year.
Yeah, the Nintendo one's probably last on the chopping block just because it's cheap.
I was
Do
gonna
you
say-
pay for that? Am I just on yours?
Yeah, you're on
Yeah.
mine, Aubrey's on mine, and
Mhm.
Dylan's on mine.
Well, shit. Then yeah, I probably did just buy it.
it's okay.
We're learning things tonight,
We are.
ladies and gentlemen.
It was with his money, so.
Right.
So
So integrating Happy Home Designer into the base game was fun, because when it was a separate thing on the DS, it was like, oh, this has a lot of like really cool, like neat features that they did eventually update into New Leaf when they were still supporting the 3DS and the like the store and stuff. So it was nice to see like that, be able to make it to your island, / village or something in a way that it couldn't before. But it
Yeah.
was also very funny when they're like, hey, so we've we've checked out the island. We've determined it is safe for you to dive now out there. And it's like, I caught a great white shark this morning.
I will not have this great white shark slander. So many other things kill more people every year than sharks.
For sure. And I'd have been even more concerned if I ever caught a killer whale in.
There's a refrigerator in every single house. Yeah. And those kill more people than great white sharks every year.
Yeah, maybe people encounter refrigerators way more often than sharks. What are you talking about?
You have a math minor. I know you took statistics.
The data is skewed.
Well, did the expansion add...
I was expecting a statistics-based rebuttal to that, but okay.
I don't know the statistics.
Moving on.
I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, and I halfway expected you to just come in and be like, "That's actually wrong." That's
actually in 1942.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love that.
All these
reference.
jokes will pay off.
Yeah.
in the next
future.
episode.
We're just gonna constantly reference an episode that doesn't happen yet. So does the expansion? Is it basically just?
You're designing happy homes.
Yeah, does it add anything besides playing interior designer for the other animals, or is that basically what it is?
So the
like,
DLC...
is there more bugs? Are there more fish? Can I catch a different kind of shark?
No.
Like, okay.
No. It does not add new bugs. It adds new furniture and new furniture sets, I believe, for decor, which
I could collect, but I don't care enough.
Yeah. But like the premise of Happy Home Designer, which is what it was called on the DS, so I'm probably referring to it wrong. I'm sure they changed the name slightly for the Switch version. You get hired. I don't think it's by the Happy Home Academy or whatever, but it might be. But you get hired and you can fly out to your job at the Archipelago, which is a series of islands, and there will be people meandering around on a beach on this one main island, and you talk to them and they go, "Hey, I want a vacation home that's, reminiscent of a dusty old library." And you go, "Okay, great. I can do that for you." And then you pick the island that you go to. You can it's basically like creative mode in Minecraft, but in Animal Crossing. So you have access to all the shrubs, all the trees, all the exterior styles and everything. And so you can make the exterior look however you want. And then you go into it and you unlock furniture sets as you interact with them, but you will always have a furniture set that matches kind of the theme that they're going for.
Mm.
That will be unlocked with each one you do. And then you can decorate it to look how you want. You can dust and polish and make it all cute and sparkly and shiny and complicated. Like, I think someone wanted a vacation home that was like a nightclub, and so I made that for somebody.
It was John Wick.
Yeah. Kind of.
Blade.
And then you unlock buildings on the main island that's like a school and a hospital and like a grocery store or something. And so then you can design commercial looking spaces in Animal Crossing on that island.
That's interesting.
And kind of like in the base game, once you get to a certain level of progression that it's like, you basically completed the tutorial, it's opened up. KK Slider shows up, but this time he's on a boat off the coast and he's DJ KK and it's like a little rave on the beach. and then the game opens up and you can use you can reuse the islands as many times as you want. Literally every villager in the game will eventually become available and you can select them. You can circle back to people you've done before. So it is like a big creative mode version of the game.
So it leans very heavy into like one specific play style of the game.
Yeah,
fleshes that part out. Okay.
I would love if they did something like they did. I want to say it was a New Leaf that they did this. Might have been City Folk, where there were versions of a town you could go to that were like safari, and so you could do games that were like catch this many bugs in this window.
You could hunt the villagers.
Yeah.
The most dangerous game.
Yeah. Catch this many fish or like hide and seek type stuff. Like there were other kind of like game modes built in that were in New Leaf that never made it to New Horizons.
Yeah. Which I mean and it's Happy Home Paradise.
Happy Home Paradise,
but,
yeah.
Which I mean it sounds cool for people that really got into that part of it. I
the
guess.
design angle. Yeah. Which was a lot of people who got into it. A lot of people. Like, that's probably the bigger
I mean,
draw for most people.
I've definitely seen some of the TikToks Abby was talking about where it's like just somebody who's like God mode at like designing this. That's like, I'm going to create this, like, this person wants a spooky laboratory or whatever. And so like they design like a crazy impressive, like spooky lab sort of situation. But like,
it's like the people who go gangbusters in The Sims and you see like a cool looking house and you go to install it and you're like, my sim can't reach the toilet. I got to take all this stuff out so that I can actually use it to play the game now.
Yeah. So
I'm curious what everybody named their island back in 2020. Aubrey, what was your island?
Mine was and still is Adagio, which is a musical term for a walking pace.
Braeden, I'll let you boot up yours.
No, I did remember it. I was panicking though because I couldn't. It was named Fort Breeze.
Fort Breeze.
Yeah,
nice.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Dylan, what about you?
I'm pretty sure I named mine Avalon.
That sounds right.
Like
some kind of nerd shit.
It was like King Arthur. It was like King Arthur. It was Camelot.
Wasn't she like a Christian singer?
Well, I don't know. I don't know
Avalon
about that.
was
I was
Christian
naming it
pop group.
after the island Camelot is on. King Arthur. That sort of situation. So,
Abby, do you remember your first island?
Mine was Getaway.
Yeah, Get Away.
Fitting.
My first island was Corona.
Yeah.
And I went in and I found like a pattern to design my flag to look like a bottle of Corona beer. It was amazing. But that, like we alluded to earlier, that island got nuked in the great Switch upgrade process of 2022 or whenever I bought my OLED.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what my new island is.
Yeah, I
think I maybe named it a Beta.
Okay.
Lord.
That would make
Regional.
sense.
I named it after a
remember what I
different
named
beer.
mine.
What your current one is named?
Yeah.
Getaway, but just like one word.
But it's
I
fine
have
with
no
one
Getaway.
word.
I have no idea.
Well,
Come on in.
Yeah.
stay tuned
Welcome.
for the next Animal Crossing episode where we talk about
Where
the
we
name of
find out-
Abby's
I
island.
think Delaney named hers like Pandemia or something. Like somebody else had like a pandemic joke in the name.
Hers was something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that sounds right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember outside of this group anybody else. Like I didn't really remember y'all's, so it would be really hard for me to remember.
Now, what's y'all's town tune?
Oh, I have no idea. It was probably like KK Rock or KK Rockabilly or KK.
Well, no,
that's,
there was
that's the
this
music
is where you
but
like
the
drag
town
the
tune
notes.
is the one where you like when you open
Oh.
the
It would
door and
go
it like
like
chimes.
you know?
Mine was either the Star Wars theme or Lord of the Rings.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
probably
At
set
various
it to like a
times.
Zelda,
Mhm.
probably like a Zelda ocarina.
I don't
Yeah, I don't
think
know
I
what mine
changed
was
any
or
of that,
remember.
So I have no idea.
Mine
But
might have
mine-
been like the
I think if you don't
Lost
set it, it's like
Woods.
just random.
It's just
notes every
random.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little chime that plays every time you talk to your villagers.
Well, like I said, my sound is not up very high because
It's triggering.
She's listening to TikToks while she plays, so or
no
Bones.
bones. That's been my
Just
thing.
Maximum
Because I don't
iPad
have-
kid energy.
I don't have
as many screens
access to
as
friends
possible.
anymore, so
Yeah, you do. Is it not on Max?
it's not on my phone.
Oh,
I would have to log into it.
well,
And
Dylan's
that
right
would-
there.
I'm right here.
That would take me downloading the Max app.
I
and
have
then
Max now
having-
too.
Yeah.
Do you use mine?
That's so
Fine.
silly
Oh,
because
okay.
Dylan's is
Yeah,
freely
Dylan
available.
pays for it, so
Well,
we're all mooches.
You know, he already has like 7 people using his account, so I figured I would just.
That's a low ball. That's
Yeah.
I've just recently
I will
watched
get
his
that info
like
from you
If
tonight.
you're
Brayden.
listening to this and you
You
work
want
for
Dylan's
Max,
login?
Yeah, it's like $20 a month. It's ridiculous.
Has recently watched his like there's some Friends, there's some like recent drama like popular show, there's some House of the Dragon, there's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it is a because no one, like pretty much no one has created their own profiles.
No,
Everyone
we just-
just
we just
goes
use
on
Dylan.
mine and watches it on mine.
That's kind of
That's so
disrespectful.
rude.
Yeah.
So
I got it so I could watch The Sopranos and then
Oh,
got
okay.
like 2 seasons in and was gabagooled out for a while.
Yeah,
I had the makings of a varsity athlete. Anyways.
So kind of the last thing that I wanted to bring up about Animal Crossing, we've talked a lot about like what it is, what we like about it, the time and place that it was. What would you like to see from the next installment, or like what kind of improvements would you like to see on the formula? What would make the next game better? I'm sure, Aubrey, you have thoughts as like probably
Yeah.
the like biggest diehard of this series, but I'm curious to hear from everybody if they have thoughts.
We'll let everybody else go, and I'll
Okay.
dominate the conversation at the end.
How about you go, Dylan? Because I was definitely listening to the question. as it was prompted. I was still stuck on the HBO thing because I got it to watch True Detective.
Oh, that's an excellent
What do you
show.
want to see from
Banger
Animal
of a
Crossing
show.
in the future was the question. What improvements?
I think if we could have it be more like Far Cry 3, where we're
Where we're torching weed.
Yeah, we're
fields
running
to
around.
dubstep.
First person.
yeah, I want first person Animal Crossing.
I want to put my dislocated
I want an
thumb
Animal
back
Crossing
into-
MMO, dude. I don't know how that would manifest, but I'm just putting
Hello
that out
Kitty
there.
Island Adventure exists.
Yeah, or like Roblox, I guess. But
Yeah. Minecraft.
I'm so
is-
glad you're here, Braeden.
yeah,
Thank you
I'm
for
thinking
adding to this.
outside of the leaf here. Okay,
He's turning over a new leaf.
yeah,
Dylan, you were about to say something.
Wild World.
It's a tough question, I think, because there's a part of me that's like, are the things that I want to see, like, is that making it Animal Crossing anymore, or is that becoming a different game? You know?
What if they did like the No Man's Sky procedural generation?
Yeah. That could
I
be
don't know
cool.
how you would implement that in an Animal Crossing game, but I think you could actually do that in a way that would make sense.
I mean, I think instead of if they stick with like an island style theme or even something like a coastal town kind of a theme, which they all did have. Like
They just do
a
Animal
coast.
Crossing in space next. And
Yeah.
It's literally
Oh,
just planets.
It's just Mass
Yeah.
Effect Andromeda.
Well,
It's just No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
You could do like procedurally generated like islands that you could visit, or like
Yeah.
other villages or towns or stuff like that. Because like the
Worked out really well for that Bethesda game.
Starfield.
Starfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the islands that you can visit with like the Nook Miles tickets
Mhm.
would like that would be a great fit for it, because it ultimately just came down to like 10 different like formats and layouts and
Yeah.
things. So
Especially for like a resource collection
Yeah.
mini game. Like I feel like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I think would be cool, and this is me talking as someone who has only played New Horizons, so I don't know if some of the stuff has existed in previous games. I feel like it would be cool for it to be a more like urban setting. I know there is one called City Folk, but I assume it's still very much like you can have like 6 other characters. Like
yeah.
I'm thinking like,
yeah. Let's
let's up the number of like other animals that you can have on your island, make it like, a more urban-y type thing, have like a park, have like a wharf or something where you can still like do the fishing, still do the bug collecting, but make it like
Have more like specific zones.
Make it
kind of
feel-
a thing.
well,
and-
make it feel like it kind of like Animal Crossing New Horizons kind of feels like you move to like an island cult with
Yeah.
just like 6 people and like the cult leader Nook versus
like a town or like a
I'd like to
a
see
real
it more of
village.
like a town, like have it feel like it doesn't.
Let's get a city council going.
Well, I'm not thinking like
tax
it
collection.
doesn't have to be like Stardew Valley, but I'm thinking like something along Stardew Valley where it felt more like, to me, Stardew Valley and those kind of games feel more alive. Feel like those
Yeah.
people are
Well-
living lives outside of just like, oh my goodness, my favorite person in the world is here. Let me run up to them and give them this ugly fucking shirt. You
Well,
know?
I think Aubrey was hinting at that with like the personalities kind of being
Mhm.
dumbed down in this game, because I remember playing Wild World on the DS a long time ago and feeling very connected to my village because the villagers were
Yeah, Alfonso the Gator was the goat.
Yeah, exactly. Like the knowing their names and
Gator
like
was
the
the
way
goat.
their
Yep.
personalities and how they dressed and their houses and all that
Yeah.
made you feel more ingratiated with the community. But hear me out. Apartment complex slumlord.
I mean, that is Tom Nook
That-
right there.
Yeah, but the whole game
not.
takes place in like a Section 8 tower in like Detroit.
It's like
And-
freaking Judge Dredd.
Yeah, exactly. And you're
It's
like,
a cyberpunk Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
yeah, and you're, having to keep the gangs at peace with each other. And
It's a different game. You're talking about a
Yeah.
completely different
Completely
game.
But yeah, no,
I would
To
let
your-
them all
to your
die
point,
because I
that
wouldn't give a
was
crap about
something
them.
that they did have kind of in previous games. Again, in New Leaf, there was the part of the town where you were the mayor of, and there was the retail store, which the two llamas that did eventually make it into New Horizons, they had their store where you could list your personal items to sell to other villagers.
Mhm.
And so that would like pop up in their house.
Yeah.
And then they would sell stuff from their house that you could buy. And then you could eventually get a standalone coffee shop, which you could work in for the like with the villagers. Like you could make them coffee
Yeah.
based on their preferences. And then you could get a police station that had the two dogs that were at the gates in Wild World,
Mhm.
Booker and Copper. And then you'd cross the train tracks and you'd go up into the like store section of your town. And you had like Tom Nook's place that went from Nook's Cranny all the way up to Nookington's, which is something that didn't make it into New Leaf. You
Mhm.
had the beauty shop where you would pay to have your hair and like all of your features changed rather than just doing it in a mirror. You had the Able sisters, and then eventually Labelle or Label would have her separate like accessories thing. And again, that was a thing where they dumbed the characters down because you had to kind of foster a friendship with Labelle from like City Folk into New Leaf because she was like the third long lost sister. She wasn't in Wild World. And so when you finally got information about her in Wild World, you're like, oh, there's a third sister. That's crazy. And then she shows up in City Folk and she's
Mhm.
left her rustic roots behind her, and you kind of remind her, and the sisters like reconcile. And anyway,
Yeah. But like
There's,
that
like-
that kind of stuff, I think. would
And
be
I think
cool to
maybe
see
the
again.
crafting
building
element,
that out a little bit more.
the
Yeah.
crafting element of the latest game maybe hurt some of that, because I feel like things like furniture and clothing and stuff were kind of locked behind those interactions with the villagers and progressing the stores and progressing the
Yeah.
different vendor stands to be able to access things like certain furniture pieces or clothing.
Mhm.
But now the incentive is like you have to craft it. You have to get the recipe
Yeah.
and craft it. And so,
Because like previously, they're like Kix, who is in the little raccoon who sells the shoes and the backpacks and all that. He's
Mhm.
on the like island you can go to where like the llama is and all of that. But he was just a little shoe shiner in City Folk. And so he would just polish your shoes for you and like change the color. And then he eventually gets his own little store in New Leaf. And so you can buy accessories from him. But like you have to catch crazy, I think he's an axolotl actually. And he would teach you like the emotion stuff. And if you saw him enough organically in your town and City Folk, he would eventually start going to the comedy club, and he'd open the comedy club and you could go there every day and learn a new emotion to express. And then the comedy club in New Leaf, any night of the week you could go in there and DJ KK would be playing. And so your little dude could like jump and like fist bump to like electronic remixes of KK Slider music, and then he'd come do his acoustic set like on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of a thing that a lot of
Yeah.
people who were like felt kind of let down by New Horizons because there was all of that and then no way to realistically access that in like an island setting.
Yeah. Well, and just having it be like bigger and more fleshed out. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, like having
I mean-
like even a city section where you could
yeah.
structure it and place the buildings where you want, or just have it be like a proper town.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, like, Tears of the Kingdom runs on the Switch. Like,
Yeah, and it's a
You could-
huge world.
they can definitely run more than like 6 villagers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I guess, what I look at as like, I'd just like to see it bigger. I'd like to see there be more, like I'm definitely fine with the style of like make your own sort of goals and kind of like and like I do like the vibe of New Horizons of just like, yeah, it's supposed to be chill. You're not supposed to be trying to like power through this in like 3 days. You're supposed to like log in, play for an hour, and then like do your stuff and then like put it away, come back tomorrow. You know, I do like that idea of it, but I'd also like to see, as somebody who the longevity really wasn't there for me, because once I mostly filled out the museum, I was like, well, there's not too much more I personally want to do. And I think that's fine. But what I'd like to see in future games is like more villagers. Maybe give those villagers, like you guys were saying, you know, like give them some personalities, but also like maybe have them like organically want things for you to like go find or go do, give you rewards for it, like make there be some more interaction. Because like Abby and I were talking about, the way that we kind of play it is just like, you guys could not be on this island and I wouldn't really care, you know? And
you're like birds that visit my
and
garden.
And some of that is because they
don't add much to
it. They
it.
don't do
Well,
they don't do anything, you know? Like it's just kind of like, okay, like you live here, I guess, but like there's not there's no, like if you weren't here, I wouldn't really be losing that much.
They're a moving decoration.
Yeah. And so that's what I'd like to see more of. Like the setting, I think for me personally, like I would like to see a more like townish kind of setting. But like I said, the main thing I feel like I want is like more fleshed out systems, more characters. Don't limit it to 6, like go up to like 20 characters that you can have on the island, make it feel a little bit more alive, make them have like more interactions. And then maybe like flesh out some of the other, you know, like we talked about the like flower stuff or whatever, like tie something to that rather than, you know, like I'm totally fine if what they want is for it to be sort of a intrinsic motivation sort of thing where it's like, I set this goal, I want to get the black tulips, and so I did it, yay me. But it'd also be really cool if there was some sort of extrinsic reward there that I could like, oh, turn in your black tulip and now you get this, or maybe let me put them in like whatever flower museum thing is called.
I was about to say, I mean,
like a botanical garden or something. Because
there's parts in the museum.
Yeah, like they could flesh
like a butterfly
that.
part. Like you could add flowers to that part. Like gives you
or add a new NPC that runs a plant nursery or something.
Yeah,
Leaf.
Oh, well, there you go. See,
there's literally a sloth named Leaf who, I mean, he works in nursery. He sells plants. He sells starts and stuff.
But he sells useless things sometimes that I'm like,
well, and he in New Leaf, he's got a little store that's like a nursery that's attached to Nookington's. So like that's something you can unlock and access and whatever. But he's a character that could build out into like a botanical garden, or like even having a proper like built out cool looking sort of like nursery style store in a more like city looking one or town looking one or something, where you can have like a commercial district and then like a residential district or a wharf, or you know, spread it out however you want. Like you can build it out however you want, but like maybe you get to place all of the stores on a much bigger map than what you have access to now.
Because that's basically what I'm thinking, is just like whatever the next game is going to come out on the Switch too. And so like you're going to theoretically have way more power to be working with, like take advantage of that power. So I assume
not officially, but yeah, considering this is like all the stuff we read at the beginning of this episode, how successful this game was. And I mean, they were following this franchise up even when it was niche. So
the last, again, it was 2012 to 2020. So, and we got news in 2019.
7 years to getting news.
So
we still have 2 more years before we'd even hear anything.
Yeah.
Following
if
that
it follows
cycle.
that timeline. Because it was like 05 to 010 to 012, I think. I think Wild World was 2004 or 5.
Wild World was 5.
City Folk,
City Folk was
in
8. New Leaf was 12.
12. Yeah. So there's
Well, and they like Switch 2 essentially is like the next step of the Switch, so there is potential for it to be a shorter development time than what we got from because
When does
they
that
essentially
come out?
this year theoretically.
there should be more news about it in April.
Yeah, they're doing a
They're
direct
doing a
next
direct
month.
about it. So we
So
should
every
get a date
time I
then.
have another baby, I get a Switch.
Exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, a lot of what I would love to see in the next game is stuff from previous games that could be fleshed out or built up more. So I do like my interpretation of Dylan's idea of like a bigger, like a coastal town where you can like, you have the ability to place all the shops, like you are maybe the mayor again or the representative or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose where you put them. So if you want to have like a shopping district and like pave it out and make it look a certain way, you can. I'd love to see, you know, something like a botanical garden or a way to like really enshrine what you do with like the propagation and with the flowers and
Yeah,
stuff.
like I feel like my island's so tiny.
Mhm.
Like,
City
yeah.
Skylines,
It's
but
just-
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, because part of the like
Animal City Skylines.
Mhm.
part of the original idea was, you know, you're kind of like Stardew Valley, like you're leaving the rat race and the grind behind, even though you're a, you know,
Mhm.
small little child who's probably never worked a real corporate job ever.
We don't know their labor laws.
We don't.
He was yearning for the mines. He gets there on like day 3 or 4. So
I mean, Tom Nook's got his nephews working in the store now, so but like all of those things to see them like come back and like built out and fleshed out more. Like I'd love to see the observatory come back and have Celeste be back in the observatory. It used to be you could like make constellations up in the sky, and when you looked up, you would see the constellations that you had drawn out up there. I'd love to be able to work with like Brewster again and make coffee for my residents, like mini games,
Yeah.
like little stuff that you can do in there to like interact more deeply with it.
that's what I was gonna say. To like throw in a bunch more just like little mini game, like
Yeah.
WarioWare type things, where it's
Little-
just
Little adventures you can go on, like again, procedurally generated islands where you can go and try and catch 10 bugs in 5 minutes, like, you know, challenges like that.
There's a couple of islands that when you go, like whenever you get on the little boat to be able to go to one of the extra islands, there's I think 2 that have like mazes that you have to get through.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, if
Like, that's-
more of these islands have
Yeah,
this,
that's cute
would
and
be-
fun. Yeah.
But I mean, I've only gotten that like
It was like a special like
3 times.
May Day event or something for one of them that you could go out to the island. So stuff more along those lines. I also really miss the credit card or the debit card that you had in City Folk. You could just carry that and access all of the bells in your bank account.
Mm.
And so you could purchase stuff that way, and you didn't have to like
You have to carry.
you didn't have to
like-
leave and go to the ABD and draw out money to buy expensive items.
Yeah, that's that would
like-
be nice.
Like, can I just do click to pay? I have a cell phone. Why do I not have tap to pay on my
You
cell
don't
phone?
have Apple Pay? I'm confused.
That is my biggest gripe with Animal Crossing in general is like I feel like some of the tasks are just tedious for the sake of taking more
Taking
time.
Yeah. Well, and that
And
again,
then-
and then that was a reward. Like you got access to the debit card when your bank account reached a certain like amount in it, and so then like the Bank of Nook was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, congrats! You've got 1 million bells in your account. Now you get a debit card," which you needed because in City Folk, Gracie Grace, who you guys haven't met because she's not in New Horizons, she's a giraffe who's very snooty and fashionable.
I remember
She-
Gracie Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a store, and like every piece of furniture in there was like ostentatious and outrageous and like 300,000 bells. And so like
Mhm.
that's one of those intrinsic goals that could come back in of like,
Yeah.
I'm going to outfit my house in this, which means I have to accumulate stupid money in order to like have this awful gaudy house. Like,
Some of the rewards though that I want are things that address Braden's issues, where it's
Good old what's his face.
But like I want the reward of a one button press to skip Gulliver's entire like dialogue
Exactly.
tree when I accidentally walk up on him laying on my beach again.
Or anytime you try to go to somebody's island or travel to an island, you have
Yeah.
to listen to all the like online connectivity stuff.
Yeah.
And
Like that kind of stuff where it's just like, I know that Nintendo does things a certain way, and I know also that it's like these are games for children too in their minds, and so like they want it to be like a slower, but it is one of those things where it's just like, I've had this like I know that Gulliver's crewmates hate him, and when he fell overboard they were like, oh no, I hope
he fell overboard.
yeah, when he fell overboard, and it's just kind of like, dude, I don't care, man. Like, I accidentally talked to you while I was trying to pick up this shell. Like,
Well, and
don't make me hit B like 15 times to get through this conversation. Let me just...
Well, and not to be that fan again, but I'm going to be that fan again. Used to be, he'd be in a little spaceship flying over your town. You had to shoot him down with your slingshot. And then you had to get his spaceship parts for him to repair, for him to leave. He didn't just randomly watch. So, like, if you did not want to have to deal with Gulliver, you could just see his little UFO fly right over and you'd be like, bye. But then there was also like just the like minor duck hunt moment of, can I shoot him down? You could also shoot down one of the, again, characters that didn't make it into New Horizons, one of the pelicans that worked at the post office. You could shoot him down. I don't remember what you'd get for it, but I don't even think you did
Probably
get anything.
federal charge.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't
That's
play
a
that
felony.
one.
You know, like Lyle would come and sell you insurance on Saturdays, and then if you got stung that week, you'd get, 3,000 bells or something for it. Like,
That's a
if you fell in a
great deal.
I know. If you fell in a pitfall,
Depends on what the
trap,
insurance costs.
Yeah, there's that. So it's
What your deductible is.
I want to see all these people come back. I want to see Animal Crossing be everything it can be.
Right.
I want it
Yeah.
all.
Well, and like maybe New Horizons was them sort of like experimenting, bringing it to like a Switch, which is a very different experience, I would imagine, from like putting it on a Nintendo DS or whatever. Because a lot of them came out on DS, right? Like I think the original was GameCube, but then pretty much
GameCube, Wild World was DS, City Folk was the Wii.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Wii. Okay.
Yeah, New Leaf was the 3DS.
3DS, yeah.
And then their
I think I do
Amiibo
own that
Crossing
one.
thing was the Wii U, and everybody hated that.
Yeah. But I think it's like, okay, you've got the foundation. Like you don't have to change a ton
Just to
with
add
what
to
you have.
this,
Just add in. It's kind of like every time that they release a new Sims and everybody's like, but you just now it's, or like a new Civilization where it's just like all of the
Or a new Madden.
yeah. Well, yeah. But it's basically like all of the features that have come out over the years are now like absent. It's like just make whatever the new Animal Crossing is, incorporate all of the features that got cut so that you could actually put New Horizons out, is kind of, I guess, what I'm looking for. But then also just like I said, it'd be nice to have more villagers and also like more goals.
Well, and make it like progression locked, not like update locked.
Yeah.
Like you start with Nook's Cranny, and then like you get up to Nookingtons, and okay, you've spent like so much money there, or you've had so many days there, or whatever.
I think that ship has sailed because games are now like constantly being updated versus like when it came out on the DS, it had to be
it was like one whole thing.
all there.
But even if you can like progression gate it somewhat to where like you have to like get to this point or have, used to be the reward for having a perfect town for so many days was the golden watering can. And now the reward is you like snowbells grow. Like that's it. Like you get it. I've got snowbells everywhere. I'm like,
What the
okay.
hell's a snowbell?
Yeah. I'm not familiar with this.
Is that a plant?
Yeah, it's a flower.
I'm coming to steal it.
Okay. I've got plenty of them.
Because I probably have a 0.0
for stars.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm never
They
getting
all
to a
fucking
perfect
hate me.
island.
But like, so then have it get to where like, oh, you're like your town's known for its like beauty and beautification efforts. Okay, Leaf now is going to show up and be like, hey, I've heard you guys are really like doing what you can, and like in terms of development, I'd love to put in like a botanical garden. Is that something you can like help me build? And you have to like produce so many flowers for them or something along those, like, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
there's so much potential with all the characters, and I want personalities back.
Yeah, like New Horizons was good, but I think they would have to update something for
It was
a new
much
one.
more of a sandbox
Mhm.
than I think previous games were, which is great for the moment in time, and they were handsomely rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what lesson they're going to learn, but
Well, it's Nintendo, so thankfully they probably will actually learn lessons.
Or they'll just do what they were planning on doing next, regardless.
Yeah.
Like, they
Mhm.
don't care about the
Yeah, like-
success or failure of it.
They're not going to
Mhm.
look at it and be like, well, this is what made it. So it's just going to be like, well, yeah.
We were already
We're-
planning on doing this for the
Yeah.
next one. We're going to stick to that. We've been developing it for 7 years already.
We're
Yeah.
going to release a Wii U.
yeah.
So do you guys have any final closing thoughts as we land this plane? Just come to the end of this conversation. Anything you want to say regarding this game?
I mean, I feel like I'm probably going to jump back into it and play it for the next few weeks and do all of
Mhm.
that until next year when we have another Animal Crossing episode.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years since it was 5 years in a different
I don't think
podcast.
It's been that long.
I mean, we did do an episode with Emily.
That
about
was also
Animal
the other
Crossing.
podcast.
Yeah, that was about
Oh,
5 years
You
ago
should,
too.
like, you should like link that podcast under this one whenever you do this one.
Maybe.
So
I feel
people
like
can
people
go
are
back.
tired of us being like, and we also had another show.
We
You
have
should
a show.
go
You gotta go
listen to."
listen to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's so crazy different from 5 years ago. Like
Yeah, we all probably sound a lot sadder and older and less energetic now.
yeah.
Yeah,
More
I was about to
jaded.
say, I wasn't in a great place when Animal Crossing came out. Then I
Aubrey's a
feel like,
lot breathier now.
Well, I'm pregnant now.
You're
I ain't got
At
no
the
lungs
end.
right now. We had to get this episode recorded quick. We're coming down to the wire.
Mhm. Like Abby, I'll probably like talking about it has made me want to kind of boot it back up in between like Monster Hunter and stuff occasionally, you know. And I don't know, there's a part I wish you could have multiple save files, because there is a part of me that would just kind of like to start fresh at a new
Mhm.
island without just being like, and let me destroy this old island
well, you
and
could
never
take
get
all
it
the
back.
stuff that you like to Tom's Island and then destroy your island.
Yeah, we'll just use my
and
island
then
for
just
storage.
Yeah, and then just make friends with him again,
Yeah.
and then get all your shit so
Yeah.
that you could just
He'll
restart.
be an
Yeah,
unbroken treasure island.
He's got like 3 like little parts, and we all just kind of like rent out, like, here's
Yeah.
some bells, and I'm just gonna like put all
He
of
doesn't
my
care about the bells because he
decorations
never
on
even
it.
gets on his island, so
yeah,
it doesn't even
Abby.
matter.
Abby will be running it.
Yeah,
Don't underestimate me not caring about bells.
I was about to say he will
He-
turn into a slumlord.
He is still number go up.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Well, that has been our Animal Crossing 5-year retrospective / just discussing the series and getting a,
Yep.
a history
Just-
lesson from Aubrey.
Just chatting.
With that being said, moving into a little bit of housekeeping, Aubrey's having a baby, so she will be taking a bit of a hiatus,
Sometime.
an intentional hiatus, unlike the last string of episodes where she just didn't exist. She will be out for a while, so Dylan and I will be running the show without her. We're continuing to line up interviews. We have a couple of them, in processing right now, so looking forward to doing more of those this year as they become available. For some reason this year, I've gotten no response a lot more than previous years, so I'm not sure what. Maybe it's because I'm like reaching further than I think I should be, but who knows? And then the last thing about the podcast is, like, if you want to be part of the conversation, we didn't really reach out to the community for this episode specifically because we had a large panel already talking about the game, but Discord, join our Discord. That's a place to be if you want to be part of future episodes. A lot of times we will ask our community their thoughts on a given topic or game and include that in the episode. Dylan, what's going on YouTube?
We've got a bunch of videos over there. That is where we do have the podcast that goes up. We are trying to get into where like our faces will actually be in the podcast for some of it. Not today because we are recording in person. But if you are interested in seeing us like slightly higher production values than last year for the podcast, that is there. We are also experimenting with breaking out some of our like segments from the podcast, not this podcast, more of the neighborhood watches. So like breaking some of those out. So you may be seeing more frequent YouTube videos popping up. Some of them will be just kind of broken out segments though. And then we do have like our shorter form specific content over there. So recently we've gotten a couple of previews in. We did Kazan, the First Berserker. We did a game called Stash, the Card Looter. So those previews are up on our YouTube channel. We've also got some other topics like the games that you might have missed, where Andrew talks about some sort of under the radar games that you might be able to get into. Usually you can find them on sale pretty cheap. We also talked about if you're really wanting Left 4 Dead back, because Valve is not going to make a third one
Ever.
Yeah, ever. What are some games that might scratch that itch for you? So that video is up there. So if you like hearing us talk about video games, if you made it 2 hours or whatever into this episode and you're still here, you probably like hearing us talk about video games, I guess. So like maybe go watch some of our shorter stuff on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. All of that kind of stuff helps us. And maybe you're going to be that lucky 1000th subscriber. There is no reward for that, just bragging rights, I guess.
Much like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it is an intrinsic motivation situation there. But we are quickly approaching 1,000 subscribers, which would be cool to hit because that's when we can start putting ads that you can block on. So,
with that, thank you, Abby and Braeden, for joining us on this episode. Thank you, the listener, so much for also joining us on this episode. We really appreciate it. We will catch you on the next one, and remember to stay friendly, gamers.